Medical Superintendent Lionel, Punita, Reverend Finney, Parvis Matara, Dr. Banerjee, all the alumni, colleagues and friends. Actually, I am overwhelmed by the love and affection and the nice words said by all. And I don't think I deserve all that, but I appreciate and thank you for what all you have said. I was thinking of giving a long speech, but I'll make it short. And what I would like to say is, what I would like to go through is my journey to CMC. And during my journey over this last 34 years, I will illustrate or highlight some of the aspects that I have gone through. About 6-7 months back, I wrote a letter to Sunil saying that that was sometime in July or August, saying, please, I came to this institution unknown, unseen and unsung, and I want to go unknown, unseen and unsung, so please do not plan a farewell or anything. All of you can sign a thank you card and give me, and that's all I want to, and I'll be happy with that. Unfortunately, Sunil went off, and John had other ideas, and I thank John very much for organizing this fantastic general surgery review and combine it with my felicitation, and also make it a point to see that so many of our friends have turned up from long distances to be here with us on this stage. Looking back, when I was a undergraduate student at Madurai Medical College, when I was doing internship, I was very interested in medicine and surgery also. And I used to spend a lot of time in the ward. So one of the duty assistants who was with me always, he used to say, Thambi, he said, you must go and work in Vellore. That was way back in 1974, 73, 74. When I was doing my internship, I told him, sir, Vellore, நம்ம அங்கே போய் எப்படி வேலை பார்க்க முடியும், நம்ம யாரும் தெரியாது, அங்கே பெரிய இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் சொல்றாங்க, இல்ல நீ பாரு அங்கே போய் நீ வேலை பார்க்கலாம் சார். So that was in the back of my mind, but having had my parents who were always in the railways, we were moving places all the time, so a large part of my career was spent in hostels, even as a school student. So when I finished medicine, I first thought my parents and my father had just retired, so I thought I must go and spend 1 year at least at home. I will not do any post-graduation. I will go and spend time with my parents. So I went home to Kerala. They had just settled down in Kerala. And I decided to work in a small hospital that was a Jacobite mission hospital, because one of my sister's father was in charge of that hospital, so he gave me a job there. That was near Tiruvalla, so I used to go home every weekend, be with my parents, and I enjoyed the time there. And while I was working there, every evening or every other day, one old lady used to come. This is after about 6 months. Actually, when I joined that hospital, many of you may remember Dr. Thomas Joseph. He was the surgeon. He was a doctor in charge there. He did neurosurgery here. He had fought with the management and he had left the place. So when I first went there was hardly anybody there. Because he was so popular there, people said, we'll boycott this hospital, we won't go to this hospital anymore. So I used to tell the management, the person who was in charge used to live in Pangalam, a place far away. He used to come once a week to collect all the money and give all the medicines and all. So he told me, don't worry, just be here, continue working, just you come in the morning and go in the night, till evening be here, whoever comes you see. So I continued like that for a few days, and ultimately, over a period of time, I also picked up, and by the time I left in a year and a half, I had about more than 150 patients, and 40 inpatient beds were there, which are always full. So every day, one old lady used to come and visit the hospital, and she used to sit until I finished the OP 7 or 8 in the evening, and then she would say, you are a young boy, you are wasting your time here, you must go and work in Vellore. That time, again, the same old thought came to mind. I said, how will I go to Vellore? I don't know anybody. So she said, no, don't worry. I will arrange something. And so she was actually the first batch of Ida's current. She was a doctor there, but she had retired. She was very old. and she happened to be Dr. Pizak's aunt. So she wrote a letter to Dr. Pizak, and actually I'm very grateful to Dr. Pizak because I am here mainly because he brought me to CMC. She wrote a letter to Dr. Pizak and said, there's one nice young boy here, why don't you take him to Vellore? And the next day, within a few days, I got a letter saying I've been appointed as senior house surgeon in CMC hospital and I must come and join immediately. So when I told hospital management, I was alone, one-man show there. He said, you cannot go. I will hike your salary. I was getting those days, 1974, 75, 76, I was getting 1,500 rupees, which was a fortune those days. He said, I will hike your salary, I will double your salary, but don't go. I said, now, one of my intentions, even as an undergraduate, as a house surgeon, was to go and work in CMC. I'm getting this chance, so I'll go. So with great thing, he relieved me, and I came to Vellore, I think 1976, I think August of it. I came here, and when I landed in Katpadi, I never knew where CMC was or anything. Luckily, another person with me on the same coach was there. He was also coming to work in CMC. He was going to do physiotherapy. So I said, have you ever? He said, no, I am also coming first time, but I will take you. He knew the Jacobite priest in Katpadi near the bridge. So he said, I am going to stay there, you also come with me. So both of us went there, we kept our bags there, and we came to explore where CMC is. So when I landed here, they said, I came to MS office, they gave me an appointment order that I have to work in neurosurgery as senior house surgeon. So I went straight, and that time Dr. Jacob Ram was the head of neurosurgery too, I was posted. So when I went first thing, I introduced myself. He said, yes, you want to come? Yes, I want to work here. Where were you working? I told him all the details. Then he said, what are your interests? He said, I'm interested in surgery. Then he said, better you pack your bags and go. So I said, why? Surgery, you have no chance here. You cannot get into surgery here. You will not be taken here. So don't dream about trying to be a surgeon, that too in CMC Vellore. So I said, anyway, sir, I have left my job there, I resigned. I'll take it up, I'll take it as a challenge. I'll at least work for 1 year, I'll stick it out. And he said, yeah, and those days rule was you cannot work in general surgery or general medicine. Senior house surgeons have to, because the specialties were just coming up, you have to work in the specialties and you won't get a posting in general surgery or general medicine. So I was posted in neurosurgery. I spent 3 months, and it was a new experience because this Bradma machine was something I'd never seen. Those days there was Bradma machine, electrolytes, all these things were new because in a medical college, government medical college in Madurai, we didn't have even basic electrolytes those days. So we had to send it outside. So all these things were very fascinating, the way everyone was speaking very fluent English. Nurses were not used to the speaking English, pure Tamil. Everyone speaking English, and you were awed by the situation. Somehow I got used to the situation, stayed on for 3 months, and then I shifted to nephrology for 6 months and 3 months, and again they said you have to work in nephrology. I spent 1 year. When I finished 1 year then I thought I have spent 1 year and I have reached nowhere. That time there was a rule those days that if you do 6 months in surgery and 6 months in medicine, in allied surgical specialties, you will get a 2-year course. So my aim, because I was very clearly told that you cannot enter surgery here, you cannot do surgery here, so I thought at least I'll do this. So I had done 3 months in urology and 3 months in neurosurgery, so I had 6 months in allied specialties. So I told Dr. Shastri, he was very fond of me. He said, sir, at least get me an honorary post in general surgery for 6 months, then I can get a 2-year course in Madurai or one of the government colleges. He said, there's no problem. I'll tell you. He immediately picked up the phone and said, he phoned Dr. Prakash Kanduri and said, this one boy is there, he just wants to work honorary in surgery, why don't you take him in surgery? He said, sorry, he used to call him Garu. Sorry, Garu, I've already taken Naveen Lal. He's going to do as a research. So then he said, oh, no problem, I'll call Jeffrey Sheed and executive. So he phoned Dr. Jeffrey Sheed. All this, I'm sitting in front. She said, Dr. Shastri, I have enough work and enough people, I'm sorry. Then there was no chance. Then he said there were only 3 units. So he said, I'll speak to Dr. Fenn and I'll get his. Then I had already 1 year heard all these stories in MIT. All this, I thought, my God, how can I go and work ordinary in that unit? I said, sir, that's very difficult. He said, no, but there's no choice. Because other 2 units are you have to go and work there. I said, no problem, sir. Okay. So he said, he was the principal that time. Those days, principal office was on the 1st floor. So they said, okay. He said, go and meet the principal with all your certificates and then he will see. So I went to a common block and his office was first floor and he used to sit on that one corner of that big hall, which is on the right hand side of the steps. So I was walking up towards that thing and he was reading something and one hand said, that's all. I never even got to see his face. That hand said, go back. So I thought, I got here also got no chance to work in all these surgery too. But actually what happened was when our Vice Chancellor Andrew was there, so he said, hey, sir, உங்களுக்கு order போட்டாரு, நீங்க நாளைக்கு join